He was very good. He was like, oh, right now we feel like we
Hey, I'm not sure. It's me, Brian.
You can even see it. Here. They go one way over here, and four goes the other way. Something like these. These two. Well, they're just.
Thank you.
So it's, so your floor system, as soon as it like, so if you go out the.
I said, I'm happy for that. I said, I'm happy. I'm really. They must have taken the yellow for the games. Okay, and I was gonna mention it to you, I was like, these questions be addressed. So, so. Now I'm here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can see the staff. Yeah.
So this week, passing, so I want to see that we see David. They usually do the same. Okay,
They end the progress about the Windows not.
yeah, it's not so I do
So you.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock and I am going to call to order the March meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to congratulate everyone. We have a full board here tonight, so let the record show that every board member is present. Thank you. Um, I also want to acknowledge that we have a new chair and co-chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so I have sat in this chair a few times before, filling in for our prior chair, but hello, I'm the new chair, and I'm so happy to have my new vice chair, Ryan Esslinger, here. So thank you, board, for your votes of confidence last time. Okay. Did anyone have a chance to read the minutes? And do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our January meeting? Or any alterations?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All right, our January board meeting minutes are approved. Any organizational or procedural items? I don't think so. Okay. Well, do I read this first or do I do unfinished business? Okay, I'm going to read the preamble. The Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with the responsibility of granting variances to ordinance requirements after determining whether there exists an undue hardship upon an applicant. In determining whether or not to grant a variance, the board shall apply the criteria specified in the City Code of Ordinances to the facts of each case. The Zoning Board of Appeals does not create zoning, nor can it change zoning. Matters brought before the Zoning Board of Appeals are to be concerned only with variances from requirements of the zoning ordinance, sign ordinance, and development and environmental ordinance. The board has no authority to grant variances for use, density, or height. Further, the board hears cases requesting an appeal to a staff interpretation or decision on these same ordinances. Final decisions of the Zoning Board of Appeals may be appealed by petitioning the Superior Court of DeKalb County within 30 days after the decision is rendered. Okay, do we have any unfinished business? No? Okay, then I think we're ready to move on to new business. Staff, would you like to present our first case, please?
Yeah, good evening, Chairwoman. Good evening, board members. First case on the agenda, and you'll see it noted as withdrawn, was for the Dunwoody High School Stadium, was a stormwater variance. Staff has worked with the applicant's engineers, came to a solution on how to meet the rules and the intent of the stormwater management ordinance. Applicant has asked to withdraw the case, but because it was advertised and there's public interest in this, we have put it on the agenda to let people know what has happened. I don't see anyone here specifically for this, which means that our outreach has worked to let people know about this, but the case is withdrawn, no action required.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good evening, board. So the first case tonight is ZBA 23-21, and they're requesting two variances. One variance to allow a porch to encroach into the rear setback, and another one to exceed the maximum lot coverage to allow construction of a porch. So this is 1140 Bellwood Square. The lot is zoned R50, and it's 8,171 square feet. It's currently developed with a two-story single-family home built in 2013. The R50 regulations, I know we don't see those very often, they would typically dictate a rear setback of 30 feet. However, in this case, the plat for the subdivision shows a rear setback of 40 feet. And since the plat was included as a condition of the 1998 rezoning, the property is subject to a 40-foot rear setback. So I wanted to clarify that. The property has two 10-foot drainage easements located along the west and east side property lines. You can see that on the survey to the right. Additionally, there's an existing porch and deck encroaching into the 40-foot rear setback. Also, the existing lot coverage is 50.9%. That's 10.9% more than the maximum allowed lot coverage of 40%. The photos to the left show the existing porch and deck. So the applicant proposes to demolish the existing porch and deck and to construct a new covered porch. The proposed project will encroach into the 40-foot rear setback by a maximum of 12 feet, which prompts a variance request. And the proposed project will also increase the lot coverage to 52%, which is 12% more than the maximum allowed, prompting another variance request. So this neighborhood, Bellwood, is unique because the plat shows a 40-foot rear setback, and that doesn't match the current R50 rear setback standards of 30 feet. As I explained before, since the plat was included as a condition of the rezoning, the properties are subject to the 40-foot rear setback, but there is that bit of mismatch between the zoning and the way the properties were actually constructed. So many of the homes in the neighborhood encroach into the rear setbacks, and the vast majority of them exceed the maximum lot coverage due to the poor fit of the zoning category and particularly the small size of the lots. The existing house is built right up to the 40-foot rear setback, limiting the options for any construction to the rear of the house, and the buildable area is further limited by the 2 drainage easements. The existing porch and deck are encroaching into the 40-foot rear setback, and the applicant is proposing to only slightly increase the encroachment in the rear setback with the new porch project. The proposed porch will increase the lot coverage to 52%. That's only 1.1% more than what's currently existing, and so staff considers that to be relatively minor. It appears to be the minimum necessary to afford relief. The applicant is also proposing to remove a broken stone walkway to the rear of the house in order to reduce that lot coverage variance request to the minimum necessary. The proposed project will not constitute a grant of special privilege. The proposed porch is a standard improvement in Dunwoody, and much of the proposed porch will be constructed in the same footprint as the existing porch and deck. Without accounting for the unique conditions of the site, the strict application of the setbacks and the lot coverage requirements could prevent incremental changes to the property over time, which staff considers a practical difficulty. Based on these reasons, we are recommending approval on these 2 requests, subject to our standard conditions shown on the screen here.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions for staff right now?
Quick one. So when Bill got that application for that subdivision, right? I think the concern with the 40 feet was because of the Trail Ridge folks, right? How close that was. Interesting that this was built. The deck was built probably at construction, so I think it was built into the variance, as it were, right? So are we assuming that the 40 feet apply to the structure as the applicant asserts in their petition, or do you think, I mean, are they all like that there? I was curious because we want to make sure we maintain that, because that was a condition of that neighborhood at the time.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure what happened there. Something that's interesting is that the rezoning was, some 15 years before the house was built, so not quite sure what happened there. But that is many of the homes in the neighborhood have a similar setup. So
Okay.
A similar setup where the house itself is built right up to the setback.
that's correct.
And I think you said that many of the homes in the neighborhood do have porches, right?
Yep, and many of them encroach into the rear setback.
You referenced the year 98 in rezoning, right? What was the authority? Was that the county, city of DeKalb?
Yep,
Or sorry, county?
DeKalb County,
Okay.
and then the house itself was constructed in 2013.
Okay.
2013? No way.
2001, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm incorrect.
Yeah, that neighborhood's been there a while. Yeah.
But yeah, it was under DeKalb County, so we don't sort of have any of the old records beyond just the conditions of the rezoning.
Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you, Steph. Would the applicant like to come forward and present your case, please? And if you can just state your name and your address, please.
I'm Susan Dubroff, my husband David Dubroff, 1140 Bellwood Square. Madam Chairwoman, board members. So thank you, Allegra, for outlining our variance request. As she pointed out, the zoning requirements for our home as it was built in 2001 have changed rather significantly from the point that it either existed at the time or as the house was built. I'm happy to go into any further details, but I think Allegra did a better job than I could have done. The short version of the story is that we want to add an additional 5 feet of depth to the current footprint of the deck's depth. So right now we have a screened-in porch and we have the deck. The deck is from the back of the home 7 feet deep And then the stairs that go down on the back side of the deck are 6 feet wide from banister to banister. So from that, we want to add another 5 feet so that we can construct a covered outdoor living space with a fireplace, and then where the existing screen porch is, an outdoor kitchen. We moved into the city of Dunwoody onto Mount Vernon specifically for a family member who needed and needs to take MARTA for transportation. So that's why when this home came up for sale a year or so ago, that we bought it sort of just like that. When we moved from our then current home, we had this outdoor living space and an outdoor kitchen area. We used it almost every single day, hot, cold, whenever, and we loved that space. So the current footprint, as I said, we want to expand by just an additional 5 feet. If you go by the 40-foot setback, which our home actually already encroaches upon, we're asking for 12 feet. If you go by the 30-foot setback, we're asking for an additional 2 feet. The proposed construction then would leave 28 feet from the proposed new footprint to the rear setback or the rear property line. There's precedent within Bellwood for waiving setback and impervious area requirements. The example I'd present is 1132 Bellwood, one of the owners of which is here tonight, and he can answer any questions about that variance request, which was previously approved for his property. They sought and received approval of a variance request that went right up to their property line for the expansion and construction of a sunroom. Now, the only difference in their property and ours is that their property, the back rear line, does abut another home in the neighborhood, and ours does abut outside the neighborhood per se. So I'd suggest that I think you would too, the addition of the sunroom to their home added to the aesthetic and financial value of their home. And we would suggest that what we're proposing would do the same. And of course, with the trickle down effect that other comparable values and homes would also be increased, because we're proposing not an insubstantial increase, investment in our property value by creating this addition to the home. And then, just reading my notes. So we believe that our proposed construction will do the same as theirs. It'll add to the aesthetic value and the financial value of our home. And then my one last appeal to all of you is that granting this variance request will also ensure the survival of my marriage, because all cooking will take place, all my husband's culinary masterpieces will take place outdoors, not indoors. But if you have any other questions or any concerns, feel free to fire away.
Thank you. I believe we have a comment. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. So I will open up the floor for anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request. And I do have a comment card from Edward Dreisbach. Did I pronounce that right? If you want to come forward and state your name, correct pronunciation, and address, please.
My name is Edward Dreisbach. I live at 1132 Bellwood Square. I'm in commercial real estate, so I've taken properties to Bill Grant over my lifespan in commercial real estate. When we moved in, a reference that Susan made was we have a 0 rear yard setback that was granted by DeKalb County. I wanted to put a sunroom on our home. I took the plans to Bill Grant, and Bill actually assisted me in getting that zero rear yard setback approved by DeKalb County before the city of Dunwoody was formed. With regard to what the DeBroffs would like to do, there's no one that I know, there's no one in the community of Bellwood that does not want them to add the addition to their home. And of the 5 homes that surround the central park of the community, David and Susan DeBroff are one of the homes, and you have letters from the other 4 residents supporting what they want to do. So appreciate approval. I think it's a nice addition to the home.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the request? Anyone who would like to speak against the request? Okay, I will close the floor for public comment and open it up for board comment. Board members, any questions, discussion?
Questions, quick questions. And anyone, the applicant could come and answer that. Does anyone, the current porch right now, how old is that porch?
In 2001, I think, and this is going to be our general contractor on the project, and
I also would approve it. I'm just,
experience with Bill Grant Homes.
yeah, I used to work at Bill Grant Homes, but
Can you just please state your name and your
sorry,
address?
I'm Justin Henry,
Okay.
Aragon Construction.
Thank you.
And what's the condition of this current porch?
It needs replacing. More than several of nothing of significance has been done. So it is 25 years old. We have. Yeah, sure. Nothing of significance or significant repair has been made to the porch since it was originally constructed. A lot of the wood coming down and the stairs, I didn't take pictures of this, but we could probably find them. They have big holes where the knots are. The paint, the wood, several of the planks need to be repaired. So it's in need of repair regardless.
Okay. That's it for now.
Any other questions or comments? No? I would ask the board if you are planning to make a motion, maybe just summarize unique aspects of this request and why you are going to make the motion you are going to make.
Sure. I'll go ahead and take a shot at it. So I think staff did a great job presenting the situation, and we're looking at something unique. So not only are we dealing with some setbacks that aren't typical within Dunwoody and 10 feet difference. So we've got a typical setback of 30 feet, and they're only asking to go 2 feet over. So really some of the numbers we're looking at seem exaggerated when compared to like what another homeowner in another development that's under the restraints of Dunwoody's zoning would experience. The impervious is only 1.1 increase. So because of that, it's really seems to be a reasonable request when we're comparing it to like what would be the minimum needed to afford relief. So for that, I would make a motion to approve. And do I read the entire thing?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Yes.
Lord. Unless anyone else wants to add into that.
No.
Okay.
You got it.
So I'll make a motion for option 1. I move to approve the request for 1 variance from chapter 27, section 58 to allow a porch to encroach into the rear setback, and 1 variance from chapter 27, section 58 to exceed the maximum lot coverage to allow construction of a porch subject to the following conditions. 1, construction must be in substantial compliance with the submitted site plan prepared by Greg Harrell, Architect LLC, and dated December 9th, 2025, see Appendix A. And number 2, if construction has not commenced within 2 years of the granting of this variance, approval shall be void.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and it sounds like we have a second. Okay, all those in favor? All right, the motion passes and the request is granted. So congratulations.
And you saved your marriage.
And that too. Thank you.
All right. So the second case is for 5312 Claridge Square, and they're requesting a variance to allow a porch to encroach into the rear setback. So this lot is zoned RCH. That's one that we really don't see very often, and that's because it's one of the expired and obsolete zoning districts in the city of Dunwoody. So the regulations still apply, but many of them look a little different than what we're used to. And so the lot is currently developed with a two-story single-family home built in 1987. A portion of the existing deck is encroaching into the 40-foot rear setback, and there is a 15-foot drainage easement along the rear property line. So the applicant proposes to replace the existing deck with a new covered porch. So the proposed porch and steps will encroach into the 40-foot rear setback by a maximum of 15 feet, prompting a variance request. The RCH district has no minimum side setbacks, so the steps can be 4 feet from the side lot line without any kind of zoning relief. There's also no maximum lot coverage in the RCH district. So again, a little different from the typical districts we're looking at, and so that's why the only request before you all this evening is for the porch to encroach into the rear setback. So the house is set back 20 feet from the front property line. The RCH regulations dictate a 5-foot street setback, so that's a pretty substantial difference there, limiting the buildable area by pushing the house back. There are limited options for rear improvements to the house without encroaching into the rear setback. Additionally, the existing deck is encroaching into the 40-foot rear setback by approximately 13 feet, and the applicant is proposing to only slightly increase the encroachment in the rear setback by 2 feet with the new porch project. The deck is a standard improvement, and staff considers the project the minimum necessary to afford relief. The proposed project would not constitute a grant of special privilege, and the proposed encroachment into the rear setback is relatively minor. Without accounting for the unique conditions of the site, the strict application of the setback requirements would prevent incremental changes to the property over time, which staff considers a practical difficulty. And so overall, staff finds that the project would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, and that the request meets the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. Based on these reasons, we're recommending approval of the variance subject to our 2 standard conditions shown here.
Okay, thank you, Steph. Anyone on the board have questions? No? Okay, thank you. I will invite the applicant up to present your case.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Kreischer. My address is 5312 Claridge Square. I'm going to read. I'm not as good as she was the last one. So good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully request an exception that would allow my family to replace our deteriorating deck. When my husband and I purchased our home in 2013, the deck was already in place. From the beginning, we imagined transforming it into a screened-in porch and a space where we could enjoy our home year-round and continue building memories. We love this home. And this community, and we truly can't imagine living anywhere else. Over the years, many of our neighbors have completed similar improvements, and we're grateful to have letters of support from 4 of them who believe our project is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. At the time we bought our home, we were told it had a 0 lot line, so we were surprised to learn that our plans didn't meet the setback requirement, especially given the limited space between homes throughout our community. Our proposed design would allow us to have a screened-in porch and a grilling area all on one level, something that becomes increasingly important as we get older, since it eliminates the need to navigate stairs while carrying hot food. We plan to remain in this home for the long term, which is why it matters to us that we complete this project safely, responsibly, and in a way that enhances the neighborhood. From our understanding, the only part of the structure that would extend beyond the current footprint is the very bottom of the stairs, because this impact is minimal and the overall project aligns closely with what already exists. We respectfully hope you will consider approving this exception. Thank you sincerely for your time, your consideration, and your understanding of our situation.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application? Anyone who would like to speak against it? Okay, then I will close the floor for public comment and turn over to board comments, questions, and discussion?
Just such a fun night of history of setbacks in this city. And so unique to have these rear setbacks that are different. Not only that, here we're seeing a case that actually has a zero sideline setback, which I have not heard of before. From my perspective, this seems to be a pretty straightforward case. I appreciate, I imagine the reason why you have adjusted your staircase is for the aesthetics, the view down below, so that the stairs aren't crossing in front. I did the same at my house, so I understand that. Yeah, that's my comment is that what an interesting night.
So it's the bottom of the stairs. How much of the bottom of the stairs encroaching by further? 2 feet.
It's encroaching into the rear setback by 15 feet total. And then, there is no side setback, but the steps will be 4 feet away from the side property line.
And the current deck already encroaches 13 feet, right? So as you said, the proposal is minimally more than the existing encroachment.
That's correct. It's only a 2-foot
And
increase.
similar, we're looking at a 40-foot versus a 30-foot rear setback too, right? So that's why it seems like it's 15 versus what would if we were
So
dealing.
this one is a 40-foot setback. And the reason for that is because this is on the outer edge of the project. So the rear yard outside of that is beyond the bounds of the subdivision. So there's other homes in the subdivision that have a 30-foot rear setback, I believe, but this one's 40.
And this house has the 20-foot, the house is set back 20 feet from the street as opposed to the 5-foot requirement. So it's already limiting the buildable space on the lot because of the significant setback, the front setback.
That's correct.
And if you look at their backyard, they actually don't have anyone behind them. Like it's a wide
Oh,
open,
that's a good
beautiful.
point. I didn't even.
Yeah, if you take a look, it's very pastoral.
Is there any more board comment or questions? Would anyone like to make? Yes, please.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion for ZBA 2602 at 5312 Claridge Square, Dunwoody, Georgia. I move to approve the request for a variance from Chapter 27, Section 58 to allow a porch to encroach into the rear setback subject to the following conditions. Number 1, construction must be in substantial compliance with the submitted site plan prepared by Mitchell Surveying and Consulting, LLC, and dated 1/12/2026, see Appendix A. And 2, if construction has not commenced within 2 years of the granting of this variance, approvals shall be void.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor? Okay, the request passes. Congratulations. Thank you. You've already seen it.
And final case tonight, ZBA 2604, 1506 with me a close. I'm filling in tonight for Madeline Smith, and I'll do my best to replace her competently. This is a side setback variance. The applicant is proposing a house addition that would encroach up to 5 feet into the 10-foot side setback. You see the location, or you see pictures of the house and the location of the proposed addition. Here, it's to the left side of the house. The house itself, as it currently sits, is a 2-story, 3,653 structure that was built in 2012. The proposed addition is sort of that little angled roof line to the very left here. There's a 2-car garage, and then the addition has a 1-car garage plus additional living space above it. Footprint is 756 square feet, and again, it is a 2-story addition. You can see location of it here on the site plan to the south, to the left of the house. The applicant has chosen this location. Number one, because the driveway happens to be on that side of the house, and the applicant is proposing to add an additional garage here. And then the second, which is the initial, it's a small 3-lot infill subdivision that was built, and it really maintained existing canopy here. There's a 41-inch diameter oak tree on the property, which is a very, very large tree. The applicant has submitted pictures part of the application. We always encourage the maintenance of those trees to make for these infill subdivisions. It gives them a better fit in the existing neighborhoods of the city. The location to the south would maintain that tree, while the location to the north would encroach into the root zone of that tree. And then I took the satellite screenshot here to show that no one here is really harmed by that location. The neighbor to the south, while it's a private property, it really is sort of Georgia Power easement of the high voltage power lines. And Colonial Pipeline is the second neighbor there. There's Colonial Pipeline running east to west as well. In addition, of the two neighbors that are adjacent to us, the applicant has letters of support for this project as well. I've mentioned the location of the tree here and the intent of maintaining that tree. The other alternative location to the north, where there is additional buildable area to the north, would encroach into the root zone of this tree. And Madeline created this image, and I think it shows it pretty well, that if the homeowner or if the builder at the time had disregarded that tree and had moved the house further north where there is additional buildable area, this addition could be done without a variance, as is. It really is sort of that orienting the house to maintain that neighborhood character is what caused the issue now for the applicant. Overall, we don't think anyone is harmed by this, and it's not the fault of the homeowner to start with that the house is situated where it is. We're recommending approval of this variance request subject to these two conditions.
Okay, thank you, staff. Would the applicant like to come forward and present your case? Just please state your name and addresses, please.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Austin Foster. I live at 3976 Spalding Drive here in Dunwoody, lifetime resident. And I'm here on behalf of my client, Brian Bland, who's looking to do this addition. Really, the biggest thing that this boils down to is the fact that the original builder did shift the home to the south in order to save that 41-inch oak. And then there's another large oak in the cul-de-sac. And we're just asking for relief from the side yard setback so that he can construct a garage addition. He's got a growing family, another driver, needs the space. So we're really not looking for anything crazy, just want to be able to add the addition. And as Paul pointed out, if this house it weren't for that oak house, we would be able to do this without having to ask for the variance. So we appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Or if you would like, you don't have to.
I'm Brian Bland, 1506 Whitmere Close. I'm the homeowner, and we're here appealing for this. So we currently have 3 cars, my wife, myself, and my 16-year-old daughter about to turn 17, and my 15-year-old daughter is learning to drive. So without this 3rd car garage, I will be parking in the street. So I think that's the real reason behind all of this. But we would really appreciate it and appreciate the consideration. I don't see there being too much of an issue. It's just a third car garage with the two more girls coming online with cars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone to speak against? Okay, thank you. I will close the floor for public comment. I will turn it back to the board, and I forgot to ask my board if anyone had any questions for staff. Of course, ask away or discuss as you would like.
No questions for staff. The other, you always think about the surrounding areas, and it's kind of the way it's positioned and oriented on the lot, right? There's no one really, everyone else is in front of them. So it's not really imposing. It's not like anybody's going to see this new structure right in their line of sight or whatever. So I think the orientation also helps their case a little bit. You had me at tree too. I think we want to definitely keep the 41 tree. So I think that's mitigating factors overall. But I like the way the orientation was. I don't think it affects the sight lines or anything with the neighbors, and no one's objecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a case where the house was shifted to for the tree, and now it prevented you to have what you would originally have to have, So for me, I don't think it's a no-brainer, but hey, that's for me.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I mean, trees, I think we all like Dunwoody for its canopy and things like that. We want to preserve it as best as possible, but Mother Nature can be a beast too. One of the reasons why we bought our house is because it had an estimated 150-year-old plus white oak on it, and then it came down in 2020. So it is a unique case. I agree. Maybe sometimes when we try to do the right thing, it creates more work later, but it is what it is, and you deal with the cards that you've been dealt. So,
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the request for variance from chapter 27, section 58 for ZBA 26-04 at 1506 Widmere Close to allow a home addition to encroach into the side setback subject to the following conditions. Number 1, construction must be in substantial compliance with the submitted site plan prepared by Construction Ahead and dated January 6, 2026. See Appendix A. And number 2, if construction is not commenced within 2 years of the granting of this variance, approval shall be void.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Congratulations. Okay, is there any other business for today? No? Okay, any additional public comment? No? Any board comment? I would like to make a comment. I want to thank Joe Tuttle, whose leadership of this board has been exemplary and longstanding, and I am greatly indebted to you for all that you have taught us, and I hope that I can continue to lead it along with Ryan and along with everyone else's help in the way that you have taught us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
For all that-
It's a great board. It's fine.
And of course, thank you, staff, as always, for all the detail. This was a lot, and you all presented it, highlighting everything that was unique about these cases and situations so that we could fully discuss and flush and come to what I think are great decisions. So thank you as always. And with that, we are adjourned.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, my group. Thank you.